Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, so today, I will discuss on the HTML, which is HTML forms. Okay, so we have learned a lot about basic HTML. So now, we will look at the HTML forms, which is one of the element that is important when you designing a web page. So as usual, I will use doubletreeschools.com website as our notes, and then also you can refer to the PDF files that I have given to you in the Google Classroom. Okay, so basically what is HTML forms, and then how is the interface for the form. Okay, so I believe that everybody has used the forms in your life, right? Okay, for example, especially for the students, you has you need to fill in the forms. For example, registration. What kind of registration? So basically you have registration for subject, registration for membership, registration for attending a course, workshop, seminar, and so on. Okay, and then in our case, how we can design form using HTML. Okay, so this is example of very basic HTML form, where the basic idea is you need to ask user to input something, right? Okay, so the input after that will be sent to the server for processing. Okay, but in our HTML form, we just have the interface, because processing to the server is we need to use a combination of server scripting language, which is at the end of our session or our course, we will learn about PHP language, right? Okay, so in this discussion, I will show you how to create interface for form using HTML language. So we'll try to look at the first example here. Okay, so the basic of HTML form, you need to have form element, and then we have for example, attribute action. This is where you will send your form for processing to the server. And then you have also the label for element. And then you have input. This one, I will show you. This is, we just go through in terms of the interface, and then I will go through details each of these element. And then we have input. Input element, we have so many. For example, this one is type text. And then this is button. Type submit. And then for form element, you need to have start and end form. Alright, so we'll see. Let's say you key in this one. So because why we have the value John and Doe. So in your HTML code, you put value. You just put the value, the first value, or we call that default value here. So that's why automatically there is input data. After that you click submit. So it will go to the action here. But this one we will not cover in our HTML session. So this one you will cover in the PHP at the end of our course. So now we continue. So we go to one by one. What are the important things that you need to have, or you need to understand in order for you to create your form using HTML. So you need to use form element. So we must have form start and also form end. Tag end. So form element is a container for different types of input element. So we have, as I mentioned, that we have attribute, or we have the input element, and then inside input element we have attribute types, which is we have types of text field, checkbox, radio button, submit button. So I think you have family, or you have go through these terms when you create your interface design. Okay, so all the different form elements are covered in HTML form elements. Okay, this one we will go later. Okay. Okay, next one we look at the input element. Okay, what is input element? So it is the most important part in the after we have form. Okay, which is you want to key in your data. Okay, so you need to have your input element together with the attribute. Okay, for example, okay, if you want to key in very simple text, so you use input type equal to text. Okay, which is display a single line, the text input field. Okay, and then if you want to choose or you want to have a selection, okay, or choices, but you want to choose either one, so we use the type equal to radio, so it will display the radio button. Okay, later on we will see the interface of the radio button. What is the radio button? Okay, and then we have input type checkbox. Okay, this is where you want to have, okay, you want to choose more than one options, okay, or multiple selection. Okay, and then you have type equal to submit. Okay, submit, which is the button. Submit button, you want to go to the page or you want to have the processing of your form. Okay, and then we have very general form button, which is type equal to button. Okay, so this one we will cover in input HTML input types. Okay, later on. Okay, now we will look at the text field. Okay, so text field is basically you want to input the text. Okay, okay, this one display single input. Okay, so how you create? Okay, so you need to have start with the form. Okay, start with the form. Okay, and then you must have start end with the form. Okay, inside form you need to put input. Okay, and then if you want to have type text field, so you need to use type equal to text. Okay. Okay, what is label here? So label is basically the text you put label beside your text field. Okay, something like this. I'll show you. Okay, this one. This is the label. Of course, you need to have label, right? If you don't have label, so how the user know what to enter here? Okay, what is the field is about, right? So you need to have the label. So you need to use the label element here. Okay. And then, okay, you can also use for element here. Okay. And then we have start and end. Or if you don't want to use the label, is okay. Okay, so you just put the first name and then put the input element. Okay. Alright, and then you need to have break BR because if you don't have BR here, so it will not. I show you. It will not display the different lines. Okay, so you need to put BR at the end of your input element. Okay. Alright. So okay, this one also is a text field. So you put text here. Okay. Okay. So now we look at the next one. Okay, this is the interface that will show in your browser. Okay. Okay, label element. So notice the use of label element. Okay, tag defines a label for many form elements. So what is the function of a label? So as I mentioned, is this useful for screen reader user? So for user to know, okay, what you want to input. Okay, and then help users, okay, who have difficulty clicking on very small regions, right? Okay, so in the label element, okay, we have the 4 attribute. Okay, should be equal to ID. Okay, actually it is ID. Okay, attribute. So you can also use the as a ID. Okay, so the next one, okay, we look at the input type equal to radio. So for radio buttons, okay, the syntax is radio. The type equal to radio. So how it works? It will select one number of choices. Okay. Okay, so this is example of the interface here. So you need to choose either one. Okay, when you click either one, it will off this the other one. So how you use? Okay, first you need to have this one is the radio button. Okay, the bullet is the radio button. So first you need to have the input. Okay, after that you put the label. Okay, so label is at the beside that, right? Okay, so now we'll see how you can rearrange. Okay. Okay, so do not put the break here. Okay, because if you put here break, it will new display in the new line. Okay, something like this. So you need to imagine where to put all the codes, and then it will display the correct interface that you want. Okay, so if you put label, okay, if you put label, okay, before the input, so it will display, okay, let's say I something like this, okay, and then I put break here. Okay, so it will display the label first, then the radio button. So normally we put the radio button first, right? Okay, after that, then we put the label. Okay, so you need to have your own design first, then you can see, right? Okay, so again, okay, this is the input. Okay, so before this we use type equal to text. Okay, so this is radio. So if you use type equal to text, so it will display text. Okay, text field. Okay, so radio, so we must be careful, okay, to choose the correct type, okay, for your form design. Okay, ID is something like, do you if you are familiar with the programming concept, so something like the variable name, okay, for the radio button. Because okay, if you want to have the processing after this, okay, you must have the ID, okay, for your all of your for each of your text field, or for your element in the text in the form. Okay, okay, and then gender, okay, so name, okay, normally you put gender, okay, and then value is inside, okay, inside your radio button that you want to save. What is the value for male, female, and so on. Okay, if you don't put the value, so it will automatically put sometimes 0 or 1. Okay. Okay, next we look at the checkbox. Okay, checkbox type. Okay, input type checkbox. So how you can use checkbox? Okay, basically it is something like square here, so you can click more than one. Okay, so you need to use input type, okay, equal to checkbox. Okay, okay, so again, so how you design, so the square button is the square element here is the checkbox, so you need to put the input here first. Okay, input type equal to checkbox first. Okay, and then we have attribute ID, okay, then we have attribute name, and then we have attribute value. So if you compare with the radio button, so you can see the difference between the name and ID. Okay, okay, for example, this one ID. Okay, so ID can be different, okay, because it is as I mentioned that it is same as the programming of the variable. So variable, you must be very unique, right? Okay, but name is actually for the radio button you can have same, because this is represent the same, right? Because you will choose one only, so it will return only one value. Okay, so that's why name can be can put the same for the radio button. Okay, however for the checkbox, so you need to have different names. Okay, okay, for the ID of course you need to have difference, but for the name, okay, for the checkbox you need to have different, because okay, name is because you can pass, or you can send the value of your checkbox more than one. Okay, so you want to send all, for example, so you need to have different name here. Okay, okay, alright, and then for the form, of course, the most important part is you need to have submit button. Okay, or you need to have the button, because button you will send all the information that you have keyed in to the server. Okay, so what is submit button? Okay, so submit button defines, okay, button for submitting the form data to a form handler. Okay, so the form handler is typically a file on the server with a script for processing the input data. So the form handler is specified in the form's action attribute. Okay, so the action here, okay, will the action here, attribute action here, okay, you can write, okay, or instruct, okay, your HTML to go to the page that you want to have. Okay, in that page you will have the processing instruction. Okay, for example, you want to display back what you have keyed in. Okay, you want to have calculation. Okay, you want to have something like decision. Okay, so it will decide, okay, in this page, okay, action. Okay, so how you can use your button and then where to put, normally at the end of your field. Okay, tab type. Okay, for example, okay, you have first name, okay, and then last name. So you want to submit first name and last name, so you use type equal to submit. Okay, so automatically the HTML know that this is the button submit. Okay, and then value is actually the label for the button. Okay, so let's say I want to have enter. Okay, so you can have enter here. Okay, so it's up to you. Okay, so but normally you will submit because you want the user know that, okay, after you key in data, so you need to click the submit. Okay, and next we look at the name attribute for input element. Okay, so notice that each input element you must have name attribute. Okay, so if the name attribute is omitted, the value of the field will not be set at all. Okay, what is the name attribute here? Okay, we look at the example. Okay, so we have form. Okay, form element. Okay, and then we have action here. Okay, then we have label. Okay, okay, label is to label your input, okay, element. Okay, and then we have, okay, we have input type, okay, equal to text, and then ID, then value. Okay, okay, so we look, okay, this one, okay, we look at submit. So your input was received as, okay, there is no input. Supposedly you want to submit, okay, your first name, okay, what you enter here, right? Okay, in this case, okay, we have write the value is John. So supposedly you want to submit the value John. So what happened? Why it not working? Okay, so we need to have the name. Okay, okay, the name attribute. So what is the name attribute? Okay, this one. Okay, okay, so let us add the name here. Okay, right. Okay, so when you have first name, okay, so it will store, okay, your value inside the name. Okay, alright, so it is also similar to the concept of ID, which is the parameter or the variables, okay, in programming concept. Okay, so next, okay, you can do the exercise in the W3 School, okay, for more understanding, right? Okay, next we look at the very detail on the form attributes. Okay, so as I mentioned, okay, so in order for you to write or design, okay, form using HTML, so you need to have form element. So inside form element we have action attribute. So where you put action inside the form element here. So this is the attribute action. So action, what is the function of action? Define the action to be performed when the form is submitted. So you want to submit the form, and then what you want to do with the data that has been keyed in by the user. So you will write the code in this page. Okay, for example, action_page.php here. Okay, but this one, as I mentioned, we will not cover this yet, okay, in our session. Okay, later on we will cover this, okay, when you learn PHP or JavaScript. Okay, so how it works? So normally when you click, okay, button submit, okay, so it will go to the action_page.php. Okay, So if the action attribute is omitted, so what will happen? The action is set to the current page. Okay, and then we also have the target attribute. So target attribute specify where to display the receipt after submitting the form. So target attribute can have one of the following values. So blank, respond in a new window, self, display in the current window, parent, display in the parent frame, top, display in the full body. So basically target attribute is same as what you have learned in the link. Okay, so if you want to have you want to submit, and then you want to have different page, so you can use the target attribute to set which values or how you can display your form. Okay, and then we have the method attribute. So method attribute is actually to specify the HTTP method when you submit. So we have get and post. So what is the function of get and post? So get, you will send the URL variables. What is the data inside? You will send through get method. But with post, you don't send the URL variables. So what is the meaning of URL variable? So you will see the values inside the URL address on the top. So when you use get. So this one also we will learn more on PHP session. So how to use? So you just put the method attribute and then equal to get. Method attribute equal to post. So this is the detail on get. So append the form data to the URL. So in name or value best. So never use get to sensitive data. For example, you want to submit the username and password because it will appear in the URL values. And then it is useful for form submission where user want to bookmark the result. So you want to see the result. So get is good for non-secure data. So bear in your mind, so must be careful when you choose the method for your form. And then for the post, so append the form data inside the body of the HTTP request. And then post has no size limitation, can be used to send large amount of data. So it will not appear in the URL form, so it will appear in the back end. And then form submission with post cannot be bookmarked. So always use post if the form data contains sensitive or personal information. And then we have the autocomplete attribute. So autocomplete attribute specify whether the form should have. Means that you must the browser. When the autocomplete is on, so the browser automatically complete values based on the value that user has entered before. So it will save the user values, or the history of the user's values. So try to look at this one. And then off. Fill in and submit the form, then reload the page. Start to fill in form again and see how autocomplete works. So then reload the page. Alright, reload not run. So now we try F submit, and then we try to reload the page and see how autocomplete works. It doesn't work. Never mind, this one you can try on your own. And then also we have no validate attribute. So what is the meaning of this one? Present, it specify the form data input should be validated when submitted. So you want to know whether you want to validate or not. Okay, now we look at the form elements. Detail on the form elements. Okay, so the form element that we have, okay, as I mentioned, okay, we have input element, label, okay. This one we have to go through, okay, and then actually we have select, okay, text area, button, field set, legend, data list, output, option, and op group. Okay, so now we look by one by one. So for the input element, okay, so this one is related to the design of your form, okay, type. Is it you want to use text field, okay, so type equal to text, okay, and then you want to use is it radio button, chat box, and so on, okay, and then okay, you must also have ID attribute, also the name attribute. Okay, then we have label element, define the labels, okay, so the name of your input, okay, for the reader. Okay, so the 4 attribute of the label tag should be equal to the ID attribute. Okay, so must be same for, right. Okay, and then we also have the select element. Okay, what is select? So actually for the drop down list. Okay, so if you want to have drop down list and then you want user to choose from that, so you use select element. So how to use this? So select, okay, and then you put your ID, okay, and then also you put your name. Okay, so ID and name can be same or different, so it's up to you. Okay, and then 4 must be same as ID. Okay, label 4 must be same. Okay, and then you need to use, okay, select element together with the option element. Okay, and then inside option element you use attribute value. So attribute value is the value that you want to have for your drop down. When user click Volvo, so you want to save the value Volvo. So this is how it looks like. Okay, this is the value. Okay, so when user click Audi, so you want to submit the value Audi. Okay, let's say I change into different values. Okay, I choose Audi. Sorry, mistake. Not this one. Okay, change this one. Value, not the label. Okay, so the label here, the user can say Audi, but in the code you send Honda. Okay, so be careful with this. So the value is what you want to send to the server, and then after that we want to process. Let's say you want to display back what the user has keyed in. Okay, next we look at the option element. So define the option that can be selected. So where you use option, so option used in the select element, okay, together with the select element. So inside option we also have the attribute selected, so means the automatic it will selected. Okay, so the user automatically selected. Okay, for example, okay, in the option I have how to use selected. Okay, run again. Okay, so means that automatically it will go to the Audi. Okay, let's say I change selected to the different value. Okay, so automatically it will go to the first. Okay, so this one selected is you want to set the default value. Okay, alright. Okay, and then we have visible values. Okay, so you can use the size. So size means that you want to have a number drop down values that you want to view, okay, for the user. So let's say size 3. What is the meaning of 3 here? So you want to display 3. Okay, actually we have more, right? Okay, but you want to use it to display 3. Okay, so if you want to display all, so you set lah to 4. Okay, and then you can also have, okay, allow attribute allow user to select multiple selections, okay, multiple values for the drop down. So you can use attribute multiple. So where to use? So use in the select element. Okay, for selected you use in the option element. Okay, but for select, okay, and then also for the size, okay, you use in the select element. Okay, next we move to the text area element. So text area is basically about you want to have multiple lines of text you want to enter. Okay, so normally, for example, you want to have address, okay, you want to have comments, okay, so you cannot use it is actually, you can use the input type equal to text, but it is not not really suitable because you want to have multiple lines. Okay, so it is actually very difficult for user to key in the information in only very small spaces. Okay, so you must be careful to choose the type of the field that you want to use for the or the input that you want to use for your form. Okay, so the text area element defines a multi-line input field, so text area, and then example, okay, you have text area element, okay, and then inside your element here you can have your attribute name, of course, okay, and then okay, rows and columns, okay, is actually you want to define what is the size of your text area. Okay, how many rows that you want to have, okay, rows, okay, 10 rows, okay, basically 1 2 3 4 5, okay, you can see the lines but you can imagine. Okay, columns is actually related to characters, okay, the columns, right? Okay, let's say I have 10 rows, 10 columns, sorry friend, okay, 10 rows, 10 columns, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, okay, it will 10 columns, it will calculate or count the column, okay, based on the characters. Okay, and then okay, you can have okay also style using the CSS, okay, style, okay, you can also use width and height, okay, you can also, but normally for the text area you use rows and column. Okay, and then we also have the button elements. Okay, so button element defines clickable button. Okay, it almost same as the submit button, but submit is actually you want to submit, but for button you can have more than that for the action. Okay, for example, you use button element and then type equal to button, okay, and then you use the on click. Okay, this one you will learn later, okay, for the function of the method for the button. Okay, for example, this one you can click on it, will display the alert box. Okay, and then we can use the field set and legend elements. Okay, so field set is for you to have the or the border of the form. Okay, so you want to have a to design your form nicely. So field set element is used to group, okay, the data in a form. Okay, and then legend is caption or label for the field set. Okay, for example, this is a form about your personal information, so you want to have the label is person Lia. Okay, so you want to group that form. Okay, something like this. Okay, this is the field set. Okay, and then this is the legend or caption for the field set. Okay, so where to put, okay, after form, okay, you put element field set that you want to group, okay, and then start and end. Okay, so in the between of this start and end field set, so you have all the form design, okay, the label and also the input. Okay, and then after start field set, so you put the legend here. Okay. Alright, okay, this is example. Okay, and then also we have the data list element. So specify a list of predefined option, okay, for input element. Okay, and then user will see a drop down list. Okay, so the list attribute of the input element must refer to the ID attribute. Okay, so you want to have input list browser, okay, data list ID option. Okay, look at the example. Okay, something like this. Okay, so normally we if you want to search, okay, it is almost similar to the drop down. Okay, but this one is using data list. Okay, so if you want to use data list, so you need to use it together with the option, okay, element. Alright, and then we also have the output element. Okay, so output actually is not in our syllabus. Okay, but you can see if you can use this for your assignment. Okay. Okay, next we look at HTML. Okay, input types. Alright. Okay, again, okay, we look at the example of what is the input types. Okay, so it is related to the input element, okay, that we have discussed. Okay, so we have discussed input type equal to button. Okay, we have looked at input type equal to checkbox. Okay, input type equal to, okay, we have radio for radio button. Okay, and then we also have input type equal to text, right? Okay, and then actually we have more than that. Okay, so for example, you want to put the date, so you have input type equal to date, and then we also have date time local. Okay, and then if you want to send email, so put the input type email address, input type equal to email. So in HTML5 we don't have any additional validation code that we need to write. Okay, you just put input type equal to email. It will validate whether you input the is it email or just a text or normal. Okay. Okay, and then also you can have input type equal to file where you want to add your file. Okay, and then you also can hidden, okay, the type. Okay, then you can also have the image. Okay, my number, password. Okay, if you have password, so when you key in the text or any input, so it will not show the data that you key in. Okay, and then you have radio. Okay, for the button. Okay, range. Okay, reset, search, submit for the submit button. Okay, tell. Okay, for telephone, text. Okay, time, URL, and week. Okay, so it is this one is very nice, okay, for you to design your for example, you want to have input type equal to password. Okay, so it's something like this. Okay, so for password, automatically it will hide or it will not display what you key in. Okay. Okay, and then for submit is submitting the data. Okay, for using button. Okay, and then you have reset, it will reset. Okay, you can have button submit and you can also have button reset. So reset, it will reset what you have key in. Okay. Okay. Alright, and then radio is for radio button. Okay, something like this. Okay, checkbox is for check. Okay, you can choose more than one. Okay, type for the button, you can create, okay, and then display any information or action that you want to display using the input type equal to button. Okay, and then color. Okay, you can also have the colors, color properties. Okay, something like this. Okay, you can choose. Okay. So the color is normally not supported by Internet Explorer. Okay, 11 or support or earlier. Okay, so actually it will display the color picker. Okay, but maybe my okay, something like this. Okay, my computer is quite slow. Okay, so color picker, you can choose what color that you want. Okay. Okay, so type equal to color, very simple. But the spelling color is in an American, right? Okay, COLOR. Okay. Okay, and date. Okay, of course you want to have date. Okay, something like this. Date. Okay. So, okay, right. Okay, and then we also have okay, minimum and maximum, date time local. Okay, input type email. So I want you to try all these type, input type. Okay, element. And then okay, you can choose okay, which element that's suitable for your assignment. Okay. Okay, next we look at the input attribute. What else that we not cover? Okay, so describe the different attribute for the HTML input element. Okay, so okay, you have a value. Okay, you can also have read only attribute. Okay, so read only. Okay, specify that an input field is read only. You cannot modify it. So you want to display it only. Okay. Okay, disable. You can also disable. So normally why you use disable attribute for the unusable or unclickable. Okay, for example, you don't want the user to you just want user to see only. Okay, or you want to display only that part. Okay, for example, this one. Okay, normally we will use disable if you have a function update information. Okay, but that field is very sensitive. For example, you don't want user to update the email address, or you don't want user to update their result, for example. Okay, so you disable the input. Okay, also we have the size. Okay, element max, size attribute, max, minimum. Okay, multiple attribute and so on. Okay, so this one you can try to use. Okay, and then see whether you need to practice. Okay, plus you need to practice all the code that we have in the HTML forms. Okay, we look the last part, which is the input form attribute. Okay, so what is this? Okay, form star, but this one is we not cover in our syllabus. Okay, just go through. Okay, form action, specify the URL of the file that will process the input when they submit. Okay. Okay, so I think this one you do not need to cover. Okay, because it is not in our syllabus. Alright, so basically we have learned basic about how you can design HTML form. Okay, so what is important, you need to understand, okay, what is the form attribute and elements that we have. Okay, and then what kind of input types that we have. Okay, how you can design, and then look at the sample of interface that we have in the website. Okay, to get some idea how you can design form for your project. Alright. Okay, so I think that's all for HTML forms. Okay, so we will see next class insyaAllah. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.